The Children's Bible, Luke 8, Mark 4 and 5. Jesus in Nazareth. When Jesus had finished these parables, he departed and went into his own country, to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. The book of the prophet Isaiah was given to him, and he opened the book, found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel of the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, and to preach the acceptable year of the Lord." He closed the book and gave it back to the minister and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say to them, "Today this scripture is fulfilled in your ears." All wondered at the gracious words that came from him, and they said, "Is this not Joseph's son? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Jude and Simeon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his own country and among his own kin, and in his own house." And he marveled because of their unbelief. And all those in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up, and thrust him out of the city, and led him up to the edge of the hill on which their city was built, that they might throw him down. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. Now it came to pass on a certain day that he went into a boat with his disciples, and said to them, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." So they set sail. But as they sailed, he fell asleep. And there came down a storm of wind on the lake, and the boat was filled with water, so that they were in danger. The disciples awoke him, saying, "Master, Master, we are sinking!" Then Jesus arose, and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased, and there was a calm. And he said to the disciples, "Where is your faith?" They were frightened, and wondered at this, saying to one another, "What manner of man is this? For he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him." And they came to the other side of the lake, into the country of the Gadarenes. When Jesus stepped forth on the land, he met a certain man who had had devils a long time, and wore no clothes, nor lived in any house, but had his dwelling among the tombs. When the man saw Jesus, he cried out, and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, "What have I done to you, Jesus, Son of God, Most High? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for often it had seized him. And though he had been kept bound with chains and fetters, he broke the bonds, and was driven by the devil into the wilderness. "What is your name?" Jesus asked him. And he said, "Legion," because many devils were within him. And he begged Jesus not to command them to go out of the country. Now there was a herd of many swine feeding on the mountain, and he begged him to let them enter into the swine. He allowed them, and the devils went out of the man and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep slope into the lake and were drowned. When they that fed the swine saw what was done, they fled, and went and told it in the city and in the country. Then people went out to see what it was done. They came to Jesus, and they found the man, out of whom the devils had departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them by what means he that was possessed of the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes begged Jesus to depart from them, for they were taken with great fear. So he went back into the boat. Then the man, out of whom the devils were departed, asked that he might go with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your own house, and show what great things God has done to you." So he went his way, and told throughout the whole city what great things Jesus had done to him. And people marveled greatly. When Jesus had returned again by the boat to the other side of the lake, many people gathered about him while he was by the water. There came to him one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and pleaded greatly, saying, "My little daughter lies at the point of death. I pray you, come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live." Jesus went with him, and many people followed and thronged about him. On the way, there was a woman who had suffered a flow of blood for 12 years, and had been treated many times by physicians. She had spent all that she had, and was no better, but had grown worse. She had heard of Jesus, and came in the crowd behind him, and touched his garment. For she said, "If I may only touch his clothes, I shall be well." Immediately the bleeding ceased, and she felt in her body that she was healed. Then Jesus, feeling instantly that virtue had gone forth from him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said to him, "You see the multitude thronging about you, and do you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked round about to see her who had done this thing. Then the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace and be healed of your plague." While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house some men who said to Jairus, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the master any more?" But as soon as Jesus heard this, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Be not afraid, only believe." And he allowed no man to follow him, except Peter and James, and John the brother of James. And he went to the house of the ruler of the synagogue. He saw there many weeping and wailing greatly. And when he had gone in, he said to them, "Why do you make this noise and weep? The girl is not dead, but sleeps." They laughed at him. But when he had put them all out, he took the father and the mother of the girl, and those that were with him, and went in where the girl was lying. Then he took the girl by the hand, and said to her, "Talitha cumi," which means, being interpreted, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years old, and they were filled with great astonishment. But he told them strictly that no man should know of it, and commanded that she should be given something to eat.